I'm 18 and need help with introducing my 44-year-old boyfriend to my parents. For the past 2 months, I've been in a relationship with a man who is 44. He was not just a casual boyfriend. He's both my first kiss and the person I lost my to. That combination means this relationship already carries a lot of emotional weight for me, whether I want to admit it or not. Whenever I meet up with him, I tell my parents I'm spending time with friends. That's the easy excuse because it's vague enough that they can't fact check, but it's still close enough to the truth to feel safer than saying nothing. The reality is, I'm with him, sometimes only for a few hours, but other times the whole night, or even for weekends and short trips together. Recently, my parents have started to give me certain looks, or ask small, probing questions. I can tell their curiosity is active. They likely suspect I'm seeing someone, but I'm pretty sure they don't imagine that person is 26 years older than me. In their mental picture of my mystery boyfriend, he's probably my age, maybe a college freshman or sophomore at most, not someone who could be sitting next to them at a PTA meeting if I were still in school. To be clear, I'm not under any illusions about this relationship becoming some lifelong, committed romance. I know it probably has an expiration date. My attraction to older men has been there for as long as I can remember. I like maturity, confidence, and a certain stability that guys my age often haven't developed yet. Our connection is more of a friends with benefits arrangement than anything deeply emotional. That doesn't mean my feelings aren't involved at all, but it's certainly not a fairy tale love story. For more context, I'm still living with my parents for the next few months, but in the fall, I'll be starting at Yale University. Getting in was a huge deal for me. It's the result of years of focus, discipline, and making sure I had the kind of track record colleges notice. I've always been an academically strong, driven daughter. In many ways, I think that's why my parents trust me so much. I haven't given them much reason not to. But now, my pattern of little white lies is catching up with me. I'm struggling to find believable reasons for overnight absences, early morning returns, or out-of-town getaways. It feels like I'm walking on a tightrope. I can only keep balancing these lies for so long before something slips. Part of me wants to tell them the truth. At least then, I wouldn't have to live with the stress of constantly remembering what fake story I told last time. But I'm scared of what their reaction would be. Even though they are only about a decade older than him, my gut says their response would still be a mix of shock, anger, and maybe even outright forbidding me from seeing him again. I've grown unexpectedly attached to him. I also enjoy how I feel when I'm with him. The things he says, how he listens, the effort he puts into making me feel special. And truthfully, the tension between me and my parents over the years makes me less motivated to be completely transparent with them about my personal relationships. Should I tell them I have a boyfriend and lie about his age? Should I just keep quiet until I'm gone and living on my own? Or should I pull the bandage off and say everything? Top relevant comment. Oh, honey, if I were in your parents' position, I would react with extreme concern. And yes, maybe anger. You are less than half his age. I'm a 43-year-old man, and I'm telling you, people your age feel like kids to me. Not because you're not smart or competent, you very well may be, but because the distance in life experience is a canyon. You can't build a bridge over that by sheer will. You don't know what you don't know yet, and that's not your fault. It's just how growing up works. I understand the draw. It feels validating to be chosen by someone who seems to have the world figured out. He has the calm of someone who's already survived the messiest parts of his 20s and 30s. He makes dinner reservations. He knows which wine to order. He says the right things at the right volume. It's intoxicating to be treated with that care and certainty. But flip the camera around. Ask yourself why a man with decades of practice in adult life is dating someone who just finished high school. Why is he not with a woman his age, or even 10 or 15 years younger? Someone who has a spine of her own experience, who will push back and challenge him when his certainty curdles into control. The answer often is that youth is easier to manage, not because you're weak, but because you haven't built the hard boundaries yet. You don't have the burn marks that teach you where the stove is. An older partner who seeks out that dynamic is not automatically evil, but he's choosing a power imbalance that benefits him. That should worry you. Play out a few futures. If you got pregnant tomorrow, would you truly feel safe tying yourself to this man for the next 20 years? Picture holidays, school forms, teenage drama, college bills. Now overlay his age on top. You finish Yale, maybe grad school. Say you marry at 26. He's already 52. Your first kid graduates high school when he turns 70. Average U.S. male life expectancy hovers in the mid to late 70s. Do you want to carry the possibility that your child could lose their father before they finish college? Could you carry it alone if they did? And then there's the pattern question. If he prefers much younger women now, what happens when you're 30, when your life is finally catching up to his in terms of experience and confidence? Will he be proud of that growth, or will he go looking for the next version of you? Another wide-open 18-year-old he can impress with the same stories? It's not a guarantee, but it's a risk that lives inside this dynamic. Please don't mistake gifts, weekends away, and attentive conversation for proof of deep character. Those can all exist alongside control, alongside testing your boundaries to see which ones bend. If you were my daughter, I would want to know immediately. I would intervene, yes, because this isn't an equal pairing. It can't be. Not yet. You deserve partners who meet you where you are, who grow with you, not people who pick you because you're easier to shape. OP's downvoted reply. Oh yeah, I'm not naive. I'm not journaling wedding dates or dress silhouettes. We meet for dinner, we have We take the occasional trip, and then we go back to our lives. That's the arrangement. I've never told myself it's more than that. I'm not confused about him being my forever person. I can feel the expiration date in the background like a timer I'm trying not to look at. My parents are already circling the topic, which is why being a little bit honest, without the number, seems tempting. I'm tired of building intricate, believable alibis. I get that from the outside it looks dangerous, but from the inside it feels contained. I like him. He makes me feel wanted. He respects my stated boundaries, and I don't feel trapped. Maybe he gets more out of it than I do long term, but for now, the exchange feels consensual and clear. Commenter 2. If he had been with you before you turned 18, especially if he'd taken your virginity before then, I would have called the police without hesitation. The line matters. The fact that he's even near it should make you pause. OP's reply. He looks incredible for his age. Like, I'm not squinting and pretending. I'm genuinely attracted to him. I know that doesn't cancel out the other concerns, but I need you to understand that I'm not being dragged into a situation where I'm grossed out or numb. It honestly feels like I'm using him for as much as he's using me. I know that sounds flippant, but it's the truth of how it feels from where I'm sitting. Lol, I guess. Commenter 3. Imagine the version of you at 44. Try to look at her straight on. She's stacked with miles of experience, losses that taught her what love costs, wins that taught her what she can demand, scars that map out where she won't go again. Now ask that woman if she could sit down across from an 18-year-old and call it even. She wouldn't. She'd say, I can mentor you, I can encourage you, but I can't date you, and call it fair. Now flip it back to him. Why is he stepping into the soft clay of your firsts? Being someone's first partner is a responsibility, not a victory lap. It shapes how you understand intimacy, consent, reciprocity, your own body, your worth. The most mature thing he could have done was refuse this, not because you aren't lovely or smart, but because he should recognize the power he holds here. If he doesn't, or if he does and continues anyway, that tells you something about his emotional maturity, his appetite for control, or the way he avoids being challenged by equals. Do what you want. You are legally an adult, but take your glasses off sometimes. Look at who he is with his long-term friends, with waitstaff, with his family. Watch how he behaves when he doesn't think he's being evaluated. Look at how he handles your no, not your yes. Ask yourself whether this relationship scaffolds your growth or siphons it. The answer won't be in the hotel rooms or the gifts. It'll be in how you feel about yourself when you're alone after. OP's reply. I appreciate how you wrote this. Something about the way you framed the 44-year-old version of me snapped a thread I'd been tugging at quietly. I cried for most of the afternoon after reading through everything in this thread. It's like a fog I didn't know I was standing in started to thin out, and I could see the outline of where I am. I knew better, or at least a part of me did. I quit therapy when things got busy, and I told myself the quiet would be fine. It wasn't. I think this all happened because I was lonely, scared about the next chapter, and desperate to feel chosen in a way that didn't depend on test scores or institutions. I thought Yale would cure that emptiness, but chasing a high is different from building a life. The spikes have been intense, the crashes even more so. I feel disappointed in myself, not because I'm evil or broken, but because I went looking for comfort in a place that was never built to hold me. Commenter 4. Psychologist. You're clearly bright, your admission proves cognitive horsepower, but the parts of us that make healthy long-term choices don't arrive on the same train as SAT scores. Executive function, impulse control, attachment patterns, boundary setting, those mature at their own pace and with practice. Plenty of 18-year-olds, smart or not, mistake attention for care and novelty for depth. That doesn't make you defective, it makes you human. The work now is not punishment, it's integration. Keep the parts of you that are curious and brave. Pair them with structure, therapy, a few older mentors who aren't trying to sleep with you, friends who mirror your best self back to you. When you look back, you'll see this as expensive tuition for a class in yourself. Don't waste it by turning it into shame. Convert it into boundaries. Update 1 week later. I ended it. Clean cut. No nostalgia lunches. No one last time. No long debrief texts. I blocked him on everything after sending a final message that I needed distance and clarity and that I wished him well. The silence felt like standing on the edge of a diving board for a while. Queasy, wobbly, and then I hit the water and the shock woke me up. I kept wanting to reach for my phone like muscle memory, but I put it across the room at night and started charging it face down. I went back to CBT with the therapist I liked best. It's expensive. I'm trimming in other places to afford it. I've stopped impulse buying makeup I don't need, paused the clothing cart that lives in my browser, and told myself that every dollar I spend on therapy buys me time I won't waste later. We're working on identifying thinking traps, tolerating discomfort without self-soothing in ways that hurt me, and building scripts for hard conversations. It's humbling to realize how much of what felt like chemistry was actually me outsourcing regulation to someone else. I'm journaling again, making actual meals for myself instead of living on sugar and adrenaline. I'm walking at sunset without music just to hear my thoughts without an algorithm picking the soundtrack. I'm telling my closest friend the unpretty version of this story so I don't rewrite it into something flattering later. I'm not swearing off dating forever, but I'm choosing not to date until my reasons feel clean. Maybe at Yale, I'll meet someone who's good for me, or maybe I'll meet a better version of myself first. This summer is for stabilizing. Sleep, food, movement, therapy, friends, boundaries. I didn't realize how starved I was for boring, sustaining routine until I let myself have it. Thank you to the strangers who said the thing I needed to hear in the way I could receive it. You name named patterns I was too close to see. You called love bombing what it was. You reminded me that peace feels suspicious when you're used to chaos. I got out before I had to burn anything down. That counts. Second update, 6 months later. 6 months in, Yale is both brutal and beautiful. My first East Coast winter felt like someone left the freezer door open and dared me to keep smiling, but the shock of it made me feel awake in a way I didn't expect. I found a small circle of friends who don't perform their personalities like resumes. We study, we cook, we take dumb 1 a.m. walks to get tea in cups that burn our hands. I joined a student group that reads essays out loud, and it's somehow healing to hear other people's confusion get airtime. I can see the old relationship now from a safer distance, and the shapes inside it are clearer. I wanted to be seen. He wanted to be adored. I wanted calm. He wanted control dressed as competence. I told myself I was in charge because I could say no to a few things and he'd comply. But saying no to crossing a line is not the same as being in an equal relationship. The age gap didn't just sit there, it tilted the room. It made it too easy for me to aim my self-criticism inward instead of asking why a man his age wanted a girlfriend who was learning how to do laundry in a dorm basement. I told myself the usual lies, that if I loved better, he'd invest deeper, that if I proved I was low maintenance, he'd offer more, that if I kept my needs small, I would be rewarded for being easy to care for. What actually happened is that I shrank to fit the container I was given. Kindness without boundaries isn't kindness. It's currency for people who know how to spend it. The comments here taught me that. Therapy helped me practice it. My friends hold me to it when I slip. I'm not angry at my past self anymore. She did what she could with the tools she had. Now I have more tools. The pause before answering a text that makes my stomach drop. The question, what would caring for me look like right now? The refusal to be rushed. I thought I was the exception to every rule. Turns out I'm human like everyone else, and the human rules work on me too. If anyone reading this is where I was, the exit door is closer than you think. It's quieter than you expect. It looks like turning your phone off and going to bed. It looks like telling one friend the truth and letting them feed you pasta while you cry. It looks like unfollowing him and crying again. And then one day you realize you haven't thought about him in 3 days, and the world didn't collapse, and you have a midterm to study for and a life that fits you better than his apartment ever did.